Trouble at Willow Pond. A rancher's fight against a power-hungry HOA. The sun was just breaking over the horizon, casting a golden glow across Willow Pond, a shimmering spring-fed oasis at the heart of my ranch in Willow Creek, Texas. For 20 years, this land had been my sanctuary, where my 8 horses drank from the pond's clear waters every morning. I'm Jack Thompson, a 70-year-old widower who spent a lifetime fixing farm equipment and pouring every penny into this 50-acre slice of heaven. The pond wasn't just water, it was life, the beating heart of my ranch, where my horses gathered like family. But one Tuesday in March, a woman named Helen Carver, the new HOA president, marched onto my property with a clipboard and a vendetta, threatening to tear it all apart. What started as a petty complaint about community aesthetics spiraled into a battle that would expose her ruthless ambition and land her in the muddy waters of her own making. That morning, I was tossing hay to my horses when Helen appeared, her beige blazer crisp against the dusty trail. She introduced herself as the principal of Willow Creek Youth Reform Academy and the freshly elected HOA chair. "Mr. Thompson," she said, her voice sharp as a schoolmarm's ruler, "these horses are a visual blight. They need to be relocated immediately." I stared at her, then at my stallion, Storm, knee-deep in the pond, his coat gleaming in the dawnlight. The audacity of her demand hit me like a slap. My ranch predated the HOA by decades, and the pond was on my private land. I told her as much, but Helen just scribbled in her notebook, sketching plans in the dirt for a community-approved landscape, neat gardens and concrete paths where my pastures stood. It was clear she saw me as a problem to be fixed, my horses as obstacles to her vision of suburban perfection. Helen's campaign against me escalated quickly. By the next week, she called a community meeting at the Willow Creek Community Center, transforming the room into a classroom with a podium, slides, and chairs in neat rows. I walked in to find my neighbors avoiding my gaze, like students afraid to cross the teacher. Helen clicked her remote, and a photo of Storm flashed on the screen, labeled Case Study, Resistance to Community Standards. She'd been spying on my ranch, using telephoto lenses to build her case. Charts followed, claiming my horses lowered property values with their uncontrolled presence. One slide showed a pristine subdivision, her dream for Willow Creek Me Ranch erased, replaced by decorative fountains. A neighbor whispered, "Horses by a pond are a threat now," but no one challenged her. Helen had cast me as the villain, and dissent felt like defying the principle. The pressure didn't stop there. Anonymous letters began piling up in my mailbox, politely urging me to sell my ranch for the good of the community. Flyers circulated, warning of uncontrolled environments, with bullet points describing my property: large animals, untamed land, resistance to progress. Then I learned Helen had applied for a grant to turn Willow Pond into a flower garden, describing my ranch as an underutilized asset. She'd been plotting to seize my land from the start, using her HOA authority as a weapon. In town, conversations hushed when I entered stores. Old friends grew distant, treating me like a troublemaker. Helen's psychological warfare was working. I was becoming an outcast in the community I'd called home for 2 decades. The real blow came when my horses fell ill. One Thursday, Storm and 2 Mares, Daisy and Pearl, stood listlessly by the pond, barely drinking or eating. Their coats dulled, their eyes vacant. These were healthy animals, raised on this land since they were foals. I called Dr. Sarah Mitchell, our vet of 15 years, who took one look and frowned. "Jack, if this water's tainted, they could be in serious trouble," she said, collecting samples from the pond. As she worked, I told her about Helen's crusade. Her face darkened. "This smells like more than a coincidence." Hours after Sarah left, Helen showed up, clipboard in hand, standing 15 feet from the pond's edge. "Heard your horses are sick," she said, her tone dripping with fake concern. "Stubbornness has a price, Mr. Thompson." Her words chilled me. How did she know before I'd told anyone but Sarah? I stared into her eyes, catching a flicker of something guilt, maybe before she masked it with a smile. "Natural consequences of resisting progress," she added, scribbling notes like I was a case study. Her clinical detachment made my skin crawl. I knew then she was behind this. That night, I drove to town and bought 4 high-definition security cameras with night vision. Under cover of darkness, I hid them around Willow Pond, their motion sensors linked to my phone. If someone was poisoning my horse's water, I'd catch them. At 2 a.m., the cameras pinged. Grainy footage showed a figure with a red canister creeping to the pond's edge, pouring something into the water. They moved carefully, avoiding sightlines from my house. Over the next week, the figure returned 3 times, always at the same hour, carrying containers. My horse's symptoms stabilized but didn't improve. Whatever was in the water was calculated to sicken, not kill. I sent water samples to a lab in the next county, far from Helen's influence. The results confirmed my fears: livestock deterrent chemicals, dosed precisely to weaken animals without fatal harm. This wasn't random vandalism, it was deliberate, sophisticated sabotage. I enhanced the camera footage using software from my equipment repair days, revealing the figure's distinctive walk and long coat. It was Helen, carrying canisters from her reform academy. I dug deeper, requesting HOA financial records through a public information request. The documents showed Helen had used HOA funds to buy the exact chemicals found in the pond, with invoices signed by her. As I built my case, Helen tightened the screws. An anonymous tip to the county environmental health department clearly her doing banned livestock from drinking at Willow Pond, citing undetermined contamination. I had to truck in water at $200 every other day, a $3,000 monthly expense that drained my savings. Helen's HOA meetings grew bolder, showcasing drone footage of my ranch to paint it as a blight. At one meeting, she unveiled a model of her Willow Pond Harmony Park, my home replaced by trails and fountains. A neighbor let slip that Helen's reputation at the Reform Academy came from breaking defiant teens with psychological tactics. She was using the same playbook on me, treating me like a student to be reformed. The financial strain was crushing. My horses drank from plastic tanks under floodlights, their skittishness growing with each drone bus. Helen texted me, offering buyers for my ranch a fair price for a quick sale. I knew they were her investors, poised to snatch my land for her park. Staring at her message, I thought of my late wife, Mary, whose ashes rested under the pecan tree by the pond. I ain't selling, I texted back, my resolve hardening. I compiled my evidence, enhanced footage, lab results, financial records, and a timeline tying Helen's actions to my horse's illness. I took it to Sheriff Dan Harper, a no-nonsense lawman who'd served Willow Creek for 15 years. He studied the file, his jaw tightening. "This is serious, Jack," he said. "Animal endangerment, misuse of funds, conspiracy. But we need her to confess, or a slick lawyer could claim it's circumstantial." I proposed a plan. I'd lure Helen to my ranch, pretending to surrender, while Dan's team recorded her confession. The next day, I called Helen, my voice heavy with feigned defeat. "I'm done fighting," I said. "The water bills are killing me. Let's talk terms, but I need to know my horses will be safe." She took the bait, her tone smug. "This shows maturity, Mr. Thompson. I'll meet you tomorrow." Dan's deputies arrived at dawn, hiding cameras and microphones around the pond. I wore a wire, my heart pounding as I rehearsed my role as a broken man. Helen arrived at noon, her sedan gleaming, her suit pristine. She strode to the pond's edge, clipboard in hand, smiling like a conqueror. "This is when difficult cases learn to accept guidance," she said, gesturing at the water. I nodded, slumping my shoulders. "You were right, Helen. I should have listened. But how do I know the pond's contamination wasn't artificial?" Her eyes gleamed with pride. Pacing like a lecturer, she admitted everything. She'd used behavioral modification chemicals, the same ones from her academy, to teach me compliance. "The livestock deterrents were perfectly calibrated," she boasted. "Enough distress to motivate change, no permanent harm." She pointed to the pond's deepest spot. The evidence canister's still there, weighted with rocks, proof of my successful intervention. Sheriff Dan stepped from the trees, badge flashing. "Ma'am, you've just confessed to contaminating a water source, endangering animals, and misusing funds. You're under arrest." Helen's composure shattered, her face paling as deputies emerged. She stammered, "This was legitimate community management. Dan wasn't buying it. You can wade in and retrieve that canister, or we'll drag the pond and bill you." The crowd of neighbors, drawn by the commotion, watched as Helen, in her $500 suit, slipped into the muddy pond, flailing to recover her damning evidence. Soaked and humiliated, she was cuffed and led away. Helen faced charges of animal cruelty, fraud, and conspiracy. The HOA dissolved her beautification committee, and my horses returned to drinking from Willow Pond, now clean. Standing by the water, watching storms splash in the shallows, I felt Mary's presence in the breeze. This land, our dream, was safe. What would you do if someone tried to bully you out of your home? Have you faced injustice or abuse of power in your community? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about standing up to bullies and fighting for what's right. Your voice matters.